Hey everybody, welcome to a conversation on Second Peter. We're in our fourth week, and I wasn't here last week.
You weren't, were you? Where were
No.
you? You were.
I was up north.
Up
This
north.
is the time of year where everyone just takes turns.
I
going up
am
north.
so jealous. Like I was watching.
You don't get to go anywhere.
I know. I'm still here, and I
No,
wanted.
wait.
I wanted
You
to
went
go
to
really
Alexandria. You went north.
You did.
Did
You did.
that doesn't count?
Yeah.
It does. It's not
I
north
wish I could've
north.
gone.
Okay. It was pretty. It was pretty, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. Like I want to be in Lake
Oh.
Superior.
This is going to be heard by all the people that were at those meetings.
I'm not saying I didn't want to be there for that reason. I wanted.
Well, you didn't go the first
Oh
day.
man, I didn't, did I? Stupid car. And I broke my phone that day. It was a bad day. It wasn't working out, that one. Anyways, I want to go up north because Rich keeps posting all these great pictures, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, Rich is up north right now.
Just
I
unfollow
know.
him.
Just unfollow. Or maybe it was Anna.
Rich
I can't look at
sends a
these great
text
pictures
message and
anymore.
goes, I noticed Rachel unfriended me on everything.
Also, it's Anna posting. Rich
Yeah, it's
never
Anna.
posts.
No, it's Anna posting. This is Anna. I don't want to do that to
And
Anna.
she's a good photographer, so
She
it
is a
looks
good
nice.
photographer, yeah. It looks very pretty. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I did. I had jealous feelings today. And I was jealous of you last week. And I was like, man, they're both where I want to be. This is sad.
I feel zero jealousy of that.
I know. I don't understand. You should.
If I could buy a house between Dream Cloud and New Scenic Cafe,
Oh, man.
it would be
I-
the perfect
What's
spot.
the first place?
I agree. Two
Dream Cloud
Harbors.
Coffee.
Is that in Duluth or something?
It's in Two Harbors.
Yeah, I mean it's technically in Two Harbors, but it's just up the road from New Scenic.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's
Yeah, that
we
would be a
should
good
we
one.
should
They made
we should buy a
homemade
house at
bagels when I was
Airbnb
there, and it was so
in-
good.
we should Airbnb one.
Who did? New Scenic did?
No,
Or
Dream
the
Cloud.
I missed that. That sounds delicious. I want to go homemade bagels.
We could go in foursies on a one
Oh,
we need to
man.
go in tensies.
tensies. Let's go tensies.
I would do this. That would be great. I'd be up for it. Yeah, every
Alright,
time
next
I'm up
podcast will
there.
be up on
Every time I'm up there, I'm like, I think this place needs a corner. Where do we plant a
There's
corner?
something about, I mean, the North Shore is always great, but there's something about the fall.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
North Shore. It's just
I
cool and hilly.
Lots of big trees,
Mm-hmm.
big water.
Big trees, big water.
I do like watching things on the water, like boats coming and going. It's kind of nice.
I like that. I really like the trees though too. Like I like getting up to Lutsen and like I don't know, it can be really pretty. And maybe it is fall, but I
I've
do.
never
I
been.
always.
You haven't been
need
that
to-
far?
You need to keep
Two
going.
Harbors. Well, where is Temperance River State Park? Is the
Oh, that's
furthest
pretty.
north I've been.
Okay, that's a pretty great spot.
Yeah.
That's not quite Lutsen, but it's
Almost.
close.
There's those cliffs. That's close to
Oh,
Luzon.
yeah.
What is that called?
There's Castle Danger up there. Gosh, I don't know what the cliffs are called. I don't remember.
There's
Well, and Rich is way up there because he's on Gunflint Trail, so he's in Grand Marais area,
oof.
which is
You get to
gorgeous.
Duluth, you're like a third of the way there. That's so far.
It's half. It's about half.
Wow.
It's about half, but it's so cool because it's like I don't know. It's pretty.
Why is
And I saw bears there last time.
to
which
get
was super
to
fun.
Two Harbors or even like Lutsen? Why do you drive on this nice freeway?
It's gorgeous.
Then you get off in Duluth and you go through the worst
Yeah,
little trafficy bit of road
the
known
little.
to man, and then you
On the
get
north
back
side
on
of
the
Duluth?
and then you get back on the freeway.
Yeah, it's
What
just a
is
little
happening
spot.
right there? Why do you have to go through that?
We're at that gas station and like a stoplight.
There's like stoplight. You go
Yeah.
through the
And you take a right to get to Connect.
what's
Canal
that?
Park, is
That
it?
creepy house.
The big mansion.
Yeah, that
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think
starts
of
with
the
a G or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the.
But you have to drive past
Glen
that.
something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Glen right?
Yeah,
Which is, this is true everywhere. This is true we're in the 100th iteration of what's happening in Uptown and Dinkytown and North, and St. Anthony, Maine, all that stuff is that everybody had a good plan of how it should be, how to make the roads, streets through, and
It's just weird. You go 4-lane highway to a 2-lane road with the max
Yeah.
speed limit 30 miles an hour, and then you're back on a 4-lane highway.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't.
Well, and it turns into 61. Is it right there, or is it further north that it turns?
it'd be tough to if you lived right there, just to cross the street and stuff with all that traffic.
There's such beautiful places that people live right there, but that is a trafficy,
Yeah, it's a
busy all the
terrible
time
spot.
road.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But
Yeah. Speaking of choosing where you live, like one of our neighbors was telling me, "Oh, it's been so loud lately" and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I've heard
noise.
anything
Yeah.
ever. We do live in our building. We don't share like a common hallway. We do share the lobby, or have a doorway to the lobby. But so I'm sure there are places in our building that are loud or whatever. But it's like if you can always find something to complain about. I guess is the point I'm making. And
Yeah.
But also, I think you can also just embrace it.
Yeah.
It's like your street. You could complain about, man, there's trees on the street. I hate it. No, that's not what you would say.
No.
When I was biking here this morning, I thought these streets in Northeast are beautiful, except they have 1,000 cars parked on the street, and so just like it's trees touching in the middle, these cute little houses, and then just rows of cars. But that's just how it is.
at least they're wide.
They're wide. It's so much wider than Uptown.
I was with having most of Hennepin closed, especially going north. You have to go through that neighborhood.
Yep.
And even with no snow on the ground, you have to take turns a lot of times.
Yeah, which is what's going to happen when it snows.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be bad.
We're not used to it because I feel like last year kind of ruined me. Like I'm not prepared at all for snow this year. And
last year they predicted it was going to be a low snow, mild winter. And this year they predict it's going to be cold and extra snow.
Yeah, we're getting the backup.
So great. I love snow in the city.
I do too. It's pretty. Yeah, I don't always love it when it gets down to one lane though.
I would really like if it was like a week or two.
If it was less, it'd be wonderful.
It's the longest season ever.
I always think of going up north in the winter, and that kind of stresses me out. Like going to Duluth on all those hills because it's so hilly, and I'm sure they're prepared. But man, that's a lot of snow to deal with.
Maybe they're prepared. I don't know if you really can be if it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like as a state, we're so much more prepared than anywhere else. Like in Washington, hilly spots, it's just a mess because it's like 1 inch and nobody can go anywhere.
I always want to drive home in the winter, but then there's just so many variables.
Oh yeah, right.
There's just so much between here and there that can be not great.
Yeah.
It could be totally fine.
But you'd have to like have chains and be prepared for weird spots.
I do. I like those. I've gone over many.
Oh, that's true.
I've gone through a bunch of different mountain passes in the winter where it says chains required. Like,
well,
how required?
How required?
Never needed them. Oh,
really? In California, if it says chains required, they will not let you go.
Yeah, I was thinking about like
There's
Snoqualmie.
inspections.
We had one a youth group going skiing moment where we drove through. We're in the New Mexico Rockies. That I don't know how everybody survives somehow by grace. When you're driving on these roads that in the day when it's sunny and clear, you're like, wow, it's crazy they don't have any guardrails on these roads, such as these cliffs and stuff. And we were driving on this, like, barely can see snowing so hard.
Oh my word!
The road was there was no tracks or anything. You're just driving on the road, and we're just like, and we're
terrifying.
We're there, and you go.
Terrifying
you can't.
Story.
I mean, I guess the option, which isn't great, was to just put it in park and just sit there, get snowed in.
No,
that's not a great option.
If you can move, you should keep moving.
Yeah, so we just creeped along at like 15 miles an hour.
Yeah,
which. On that drive, it was like a 6-hour drive, and the first 3/4 of it takes 3 hours, and then it's 3 hours to just go zigging. And so it was just snow, and we lived. It was great. Everybody lived. We got there so late.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds terrifying.
I've been on some snowy passes.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Opportunity for bad decisions. That was also the trip where I skied that whole next day with the van keys in my pocket, and at the end of the day I went, there aren't any keys in my pocket.
Oh no.
Here.
That's,
Yeah. And so that was the most Bundy thing I could have
You think I'd ski? Are you?
That's fair.
Uh,
So I got to call a friend of mine and say, "Hey, I'll buy you skiing tomorrow." He's like, "I'm not there. What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you have to drive out here with a set of keys."
Oh no.
Yikes.
When I was a kid, we'd go to South Dakota a lot, and there's a couple of roads without the guardrail, and my stepdad would always sit in the middle. Like,
You can sit in the car while driving.
no, my
Bench
mom would
seat?
drive,
Oh.
and he was so like scared of the edge. He'd sit in the middle because he couldn't see it. Which now I kind of feel that way. I'm like, yeah, I could probably just never. I don't need to look. I don't want to see.
I love driving on those roads.
No, I don't love.
Yeah,
Not really in the snow, but like.
Yeah.
But it's nice and you get the view.
I don't love it.
I miss the mountains.
I do miss the mountains.
You're scared of them.
I mean, I don't want to drive it. I don't need to, but I like to look.
Well,
Oh,
today, Peter in 2 Peter chapter 3, starting of the first half of this chapter.
Yeah.
He again the focus of this letter is the distraction of bad advice givers or false prophets, and as he coming to the conclusion, next week we'll wrap up this letter. But this week he's brings up two distracting moments. Again, he alludes, or more than just alludes, to God's commands and Jesus' great commandment. Like, what a recurring theme. Like, how many times can we talk about this? But it is radically important, and we have to keep focus on that. And Peter here, he goes, all right, so we're supposed to love. Jesus says, if you want to sum up all of the commands, love God and love people.
Yep.
And Peter says, again, you should listen to these commands. And then he says that there's distractions. And the two that he brings up is he says that there are people that heckle or, I don't know, just naysayers, shaming, whatever. Just voices, people's voices. And then there is just the second distraction is just sometimes the slowness or the relentlessness of time.
Mm-hmm.
And he terms it as God's patience. This is the moment where Peter says, a moment is very different to us than it is to God. But that can be a great distraction. You just go, listen, God, I loved you yesterday. What else do you want from me? But distraction is a real thing. And I think that we all deal with it quite differently. Rachel, how do you deal with distraction?
I live in distraction.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No.
Yes, I do. I think that, I mean, sometimes I feel like, I don't know if I live in distraction. That sounds kind of terrible. But I do feel like so Scott made this fun little quiz. And he said rarely to a lot. And I said often or constantly to many of them.
Really?
And it was about distraction.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I tend to do is multitask or try to do two things at the same time all the time to keep me interested in what I'm doing because I can get bored really easily. But like Mike and I were talking about, if I just want to exercise for exercise's sake sounds really boring to me. But when I'm doing an event and walking all over the world and running around like crazy, that is a much more interesting way to exercise for me. And it's I feel like even with this, it's really easy to think, okay, with this, my relationship with God and this command, it's not simple to love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind and soul and to love your neighbor as yourself. And I feel like there's part of me that wants to keep it exciting, but it's also sometimes it's just daily, it's just the daily part of life, the comfortable, how do you make it a part of who you are? And so I don't know, in distraction, I think yes. Yes, I'm distracted.
That was the most distracted answer ever. And distracted, yes. And
Yes. Even in answering it, I got a little distracted. So, do you feel distracted ever?
I don't think necessarily like on like at any specific moment, but I think like there are big things that you go, oh, that energy wasted on that was actually a distraction from what I was supposed to be doing or should have been doing or could have been doing. It's hard to measure what is actually a distraction and what's not for me because my gut will often say like just random moments with people can feel like a distraction.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though those are probably not always and probably are a good thing.
Yeah, you and I are probably significantly more task oriented than Rachel.
Yeah.
I know, but I feel that, like, I do think I'm much more people oriented, but that's kind of the problem sometimes. It's like, I know I have a list of things I need to get done, but if I see somebody I need to talk to or connect with, like, that will definitely take precedence, but almost too, like, not too far, but also maybe too far, where it's like, it's hard to get the things I need to get done because I'm busy talking with people, and I don't know.
I'm so broken in it that the only way to make connecting with people feel like it's not a distraction is to actually have it on a to-do list.
Yeah. Well, and you've said before you like doing things with people, like an active activity, and it's like that makes it more fit in the realm of, I don't know.
Yeah. I think the distraction. I think for me, I think of distraction as more of like priority might be a better word for me, is that I can have a moment where something that should be higher priority gets clouded by all the other things that are taking priority. There isn't I don't feel, very rarely do I have a moment like I got distracted and I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And not that that's actually part of my challenge as well, is that I feel like distraction, I think so much is connected to doing rather than being, which isn't, it's part of my temperament personality, but it's also can be an out of balance thing as well, is that it's to think that who I am is what I do. Because I wouldn't necessarily, a good measure of that, would I want that for other people? Yeah, who you are is what you do. Nah. But I can bring that to myself, and so distraction can be, it's, I'm supposed to love God and love people, and there's 700 other things that are asking for it, and so it just gets lost in the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's to bring it to that specifically, but
I think it goes back to the conversation or the thing we bring up all the time is knowing what to do is not the problem, but knowing what to do next is the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
So distraction is not necessarily meaning you're not doing anything or procrastinating. It just could be that you're doing the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Wrong focus.
Yeah, and Peter's writing to a group of people that are in incredible hardship. And so, you can have this, maybe nostalgia in the focus of it, or somehow in this you go okay, Peter, so here where life is really tough, and you're saying, love God, love people. And if you think back how that was done in a season when hardship wasn't present, and now in the midst of hardship, it's not the same. So you can say, I can't do what I did before.
Yeah.
Good, exactly. But you should be, momentarily appropriate. And so I think that sometimes is the success and failure of Peter's encouragement, the continual repetitive encouragement of Scripture, being Christ-like, is that we think about it as being like a repeated carbon copy of what was before, what we've seen in somebody else, go, oh, I need to do that. And that's oh, no, you should be you. Or I need to do what I did before. And no, you should do what is appropriate now. And that just makes the measuring very hard. And so sometimes distraction isn't losing focus or being drowned out. Sometimes distraction can be, even aiming for the wrong thing.
And I was thinking about, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, these people are in a hard place. And it seems like some of the distractions are, they're really almost make life easier. Or not maybe life easier, but your relationship, you don't have to worry about whether Jesus is coming back or not, or you don't have to worry about these things. And it's like, if life is hard and you feel overwhelmed, and there's somebody that comes and says, actually, it doesn't have to be this hard. Like, this could be, you don't have to worry about all of these things. You don't have to worry about, like Peter over and over is like telling us to strive for growing closer to God and strive to goodness and knowledge and all these things, which takes some work. Like, it's not like it's just like, whatever, I can strive and do nothing about it. Like, it actually takes us doing the work. And then distractors come in and say, actually, no, you don't have to do that. Like, and you're already living in a hard moment in history. Is it just to lighten? I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody else could figure out what I'm saying, it'd be great. But like, it's just like in this hard moment, and someone says, you don't have to strive. You don't have to do all this. Let's make it easy.
Well, it's we do have something in the United States specifically. It's not just a Western or first world thing. It's that we have this total paralysis by option. It's going into a grocery store to get ketchup, and most of the world, you go to get something like ketchup, and you go, there is the ketchup.
Yeah.
And here we have like a third of an aisle is all these different options. And that's not an example where I would feel paralyzed in it, but there can be options too, like, we have a quiet evening at home. Let's watch something, and then you pull up all of these. It used to be a couple of channels, and what's on. Well, here are two options,
and here's all your streaming services.
And now it's paralysis by option, and that can fuel. I feel like that's part of the fuel of distraction. Is that and I think I'm going to try to interpret what you said.
Thank you.
Is that when life, there are lots of flexibilities in life, lots of options, lots of good things in life. It can lead to a complete paralysis by all the options, distraction, and lead you to do nothing. And when life is really heavy and hard, you just you have one option. You either hang tight and trust God in the midst of this, or you just completely let go.
I think sometimes when there's so many options, it leads you to never make a commitment. And even when you do make a commitment, you don't fully commit, because there's always like something else could be better. Whether it's
something else could be better.
It's a job, or I think that's like the biggest issue with dating these days.
Oh my gosh!
There are actually too many options. Like, in the past, before all the dating apps and everything, it was like these are the people I know, so those are my options.
Well, and human
make
history,
a commitment to one.
Human history in a non-urban world. Yeah, in your village there were probably 5 or less people that were in the appropriate age range, and then some not.
Yeah,
and like, okay,
but when it's as easy as just doing this, then it's like, why would you ever make a commitment? There might be something else better.
Yeah, that's a key.
But we do it with jobs. We do it. I think we do it with our faith. I think we do it with our church community. We do it with our jobs. We do it with our friends. Lack of commitment is super detrimental to our lives.
Yeah. Well, I think when it's hard, and you can, like, going back to distraction, like, when it's hard, you can distract yourself and not actually work through hard things. You just pretend like they don't exist. I can do that.
I thought, again, this isn't necessarily completely what Peter's thought process was, but it kind of, there's some allusion again back to the greatest commandment. But Peter would have known the Proverbs well. That was been a cultural expectation. It's just that you're not only familiar with them, but like they're like etched in your heart, memorized. And one of my favorite Proverbs 4, like if you're going to start memorizing, you probably start at the beginning. So 4 chapters in, probably, again, the cultural expectation was that Peter would have this memorized. And Proverbs 4 says, let your eyes, stay straight, fixed ahead, don't turn to the right, don't turn to the left, keep your feet from doing evil. And so it's a not distracted proverb. I think a story that Peter would have heard over and over again in Jesus' ministry was Jesus sharing about his being tempted in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
The disciples weren't there, and this is in the Gospels, and so this was a story that was shared or told. And I think there's a great moment of Jesus' life where he could have turned to the right or left. Again, thinking of that proverb,
Mm-hmm.
is after fasting for 40 days, and the enemy comes to him and says, if you're the Son of God, you should turn these stones into bread. Just distraction moment. And Jesus kept focused, and he said, nope, live on the Word of God, not on bread alone. And with that was, again, the allusion, what Jesus quoted was from Deuteronomy. Here in the Old Testament, it's talking about manna, that God provides this bread, and God's provision of that bread to the Israelites as they were wandering in the wilderness. There was no option other than to trust God's provision.
Mm-hmm.
Then Peter would have remembered, thinking about that, you go to John's Gospels, and again, Jesus said very truly, I tell you, Moses gave bread from heaven, but I am the bread of life. And whoever comes to me will never go hungry. So it's like, again, in this cycle of Peter's thought process, Jesus would have also remembered Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. And again, what is Jesus all about? He again would have said, a new command I give you, love one another. And so like thinking through all of this cumulative thought process of Peter and all these things etched in his heart, I think that for us, it's so simple to just go, I don't know, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. Okay, love God, love people, whatever. I can repeat that. I'll make a letterhead that says it or something. I don't even know what you would do with it, but but to think through why is listening to Jesus and his command such an important thing? Why would I give it credence? Why would I not be distracted from it? And if somebody comes up to me and says, here's something that I want you to keep give a lot of time, energy, effort, and okay. It's hard for me to be just given that. And so I think it's important for us all to process this. What is the resounding realities of Christ? What does our faith say? What does it inform us in to keep us from getting distracted?
Yeah. I think it's really important to understand where people are at in their, for somebody to feel like this is important, Jesus has to mean something to them. And I feel like that's where we start. If Jesus means something to us and we are looking through that mirror, then reading this means something to us. And I feel like if I am reading this and it's calling me to love the Lord your God with all my heart, all my soul, and all my mind, it's not just that it's important, it's how do you do all this? How do I love God like that? How do I love my neighbor as myself? How do I put this into practice every day? Just remembering it, not forgetting about it. Because I think it's really easy to read this and not ever think about it again, but not think about it for a few months, and then we talk about how we keep coming back to this. Like in 1 John, we talked about this, and James, we keep coming back to this commandment, over and over again. So it's how do we remember it? How do we not forget that this is the commandment? And then how do we practice learning to do it?
And Peter would say, on top of all of that, you got to figure those things out. And there will be things outside of you that are going to make it difficult.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scoffers are going to be going, what are you
What's wrong with you?
doing?
Why are you living like this?
Yeah. And then internally, the relentlessness of time and persistence and commitment will give you enough distraction. You go, you're right.
Why am I doing
I
this?
knew that. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So Peter's brilliant in doing the external and internal distractions, putting those on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then from it again, his final conclusions or encouragements from that is you ought to live holy and godly lives. You ought to.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of distraction.
I like it.
Rich.
Rich is not
He's
here.
not
Oh, that's right.
That'll have to be our wrap up.
Do you have anything?
Nope.
No.
See
Me
See you
neither.
guys next week.
ya.